Yo, what up? It's your boy, and welcome to a DSR guide on equipment. Before I get started with the guide, I just want to make sure that you guys check the video description because if things changes down the line, I'm gonna have to write it down there or make a different guide. So first things first, I'm on the desert area, as you can see, and this is the first map that equipments actually can be dropped on. From here on out, they just get better as you go, and you can also get them from like main quests. It's rather common, you know. How do you equip it, right? How do you put it on? If you press T, you can see there's this new tab, which is the equipment window, and there are slots for the necklace, 2 earrings, a bracelet, and 2 rings, right? Minus the Digivice, of course, because the Digivice cannot be dropped at the moment. All these equipments, they have around the same base stat line currently. There's no like specific equipment that's better than the others. It's just basically like you getting better rolls, better stat rolls on each one of them. So to equip the items, all you have to do is just right click it and you'll see that it will switch it right away. But if we're talking about like earrings or rings that have 2 items, like 2 slots to equip the item, you can just right click to equip the first one, and then you have to hold Ctrl and right click to equip the second one. Otherwise you'll be just changing the first one over and over. And going over like how equipment looks, we'll be starting off with the equipment that drops right here actually. There's this piece right here that says +3 and +2. It says right under the stats, which are always random. The level 20 and the number 54, and those mean the minimum Tamer level you have to be to equip it. So Tamer level 20 on this case. And right under is the Digimon level, which is 54. Now, 2 things, or rather 3 things you need to know. The first thing is that on the stat numbers, the stats are rolled as soon as you drop the equipment. Currently there is no way to reroll the stats, but who knows, maybe in the future. And the stat number, it's actually fixed by like, there's a range for each equipment of minimum and maximum values that you can get. And usually the lower ones are more common, but it's part of the whole system that you're gonna like end up getting repeated copies of the same accessories to get better stat rolls, at least currently. And moving on to the Tamer level requirement, you can check your Tamer level by pressing T and going over here. You can see the level and the number, and that's your Tamer level. You get this number up by doing main and side quests, so there it is, an incentive to get your Tamer level up. And the third thing is the Digimon level, which for this equipment would be 54, right? How this works is if your Digimon is at the level of the equipment or higher, you'll get the full stats that it gives. But if your level's under, you will get only a share of the stats. Like late game, there isn't that much of a penalty. Like for example, the level 95 equipment I have on my character gives plus 94, as you can see right here. But if I click on a level 90 Digimon, you see that it gets 91 instead, right? And that's how the Digimon level works in the system. Which also means that depending on what you're doing, you might want like different sets with different levels on it. But also that like if you're just using something close to max level in the game, it doesn't matter that much, right? Another thing you should know is that if you get equipments of the higher rarities, I mean the ones to these green or blue or even the rare ones which have a purple border, they will have this extra line of text before the stats, and the number on it just basically means the amount of people that could have owned this item before you. Because once you equip an equipment item, it becomes bound, but there will be a system in the future, I believe, that lets you like trade them or pass them to other people. which may make it worth to keep some equipment. Right? So now that we're done explaining the basics, I'm gonna get into like the at least current late game details for this. The max stat total I believe is 12 to 19, as you can see by this equipment on screen. And like while that is good, it is very difficult to drop the rarity that the items come in, and then like when factoring the getting the good stat rolls for it, it gets even more complicated. But it's definitely doable. I'd say it's more of a like the system was made with the idea that players would keep farming, and as like since farming is not something that really ends, you know, you're always looking for better equipment, right? And some of these do sell quite nicely. Currently, the strength ones, they're pretty good. And if you're looking for enemies that you can just farm them on, like the highest level possible, highest Digimon level possible, I'll put it on screen right here. But do note that like between the level 90, 92, and 93 equipment, there isn't really a difference in the maximum amount of stats they can get currently. It's more of a like what Digimon can kill faster and easier, right? Because that matters. As a quick side note, like one thing you should know about equipments is that each enemy's like the drops are organized in a way that each enemy only drops a specific type of equipment a lot. So, for example, on the late game, you go to the Inframons for rings, and they would only drop rings. And then you go to the Divermons or other enemies for earrings, because those are only obtained there, right? Another thing you should be mindful of is that when you're trying to like browse for equipment on the market, you may run into the problem of the equipments are listed by item type, so you may find a lot of one equipment that is not necessarily the best, but since you have more options for it, like you may find better ones earlier, right? And that's kind of like one of the quirks of the system, since you know all of them are dropped. Like you can see here in my inventory, I have a bunch of the level 92 items, even though they are not the greatest. And I have one equipped, even though I have the better version, just because it didn't get like as good stat rolls as that other version, right? And that's part of like, you're gonna have to farm and find out what you get. Or just repeat it enough that you get like the actually good stuff. The system didn't even drop for like a week. But we're already noticing some players that have like access to new spots or new one-shot strategies because of the boost that equipment gives. Just as a side note, I would suggest that you like keep the higher rarity equipments that you find, like blue and purple items, if you can, of course, because you know inventory space these days. But like keep it if you can, because I think there's things that reference dismantling equipment in the future, so or doing something with them, and I imagine keeping the good ones would just like be generally good. That's gonna do it for this quick equipment guide. So if you have any questions, just drop it in the comments. Hope you guys have a good one, and that this guide helped you understand a little bit of like where places to go or what enemies to kill. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.